Welcome to Try It On, the space where awareness meets the nervous system and real change begins. I'm Tiffany O'Harn, holistic healer, nervous system guide, and speaker. And today I want to talk about something that might ruffle some feathers. And I mean that with so much love. But don't take my word for it. Try it on. There's a version of healing that looks really good on paper. You've read the books, you understand the science, you know about the prefrontal cortex, you know about triggers and patterns and nervous system responses. You might even teach it. And then something happens and you collapse. You react, you spiral. You find yourself right back in the same loop that you thought you left behind. And you wonder, what is wrong with me? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Because this is not an intellectual problem. And the more you try to see it as one, the further we're moving away. See, knowledge is not the same as actually shifting. And we live in a world that worships information, especially now. We have information at our fingertips at all times. And sometimes that can be hard. For every one thing we can read something that disproves it, right? But we love information. If I just understand it enough, if I can read one more book, if I can take one more course, then I'll finally stop reacting. But here's what I know. You can read every stinking study on how the brain works. You can. You can understand. Whoops. Let me, 1 second. Okay, so where were we? We were talking about the brain, right? You can read everything on how the brain works. You can understand the exact science of why you react. You can work as a psychologist and as a therapist, a coach. You can have a degree in every certification and still collapse when something triggers you. And it's not because you are not smart enough. It's because this doesn't live in the mind. It lives in the body. And until we can see the difference and feel the difference, you'll continue to react. You know, I really invite you to take a look at some of the past teachings that I've put out there. I do it a couple times a week. There's 20 to 30 at this point. And they all sort of revolve around the same thing. You are the operant power within your life. You have created everything. Thus, you can create everything with conscious awareness. And, you know, this is something that I'm seeing more and more, is that we want to talk about the science behind the triggers and the reactions. And the reality is it's just all noise. It is all noise because you cannot talk your way out of it. I have read lots of books on this very subject. Joe Dispenza, right? I read Joe Dispenza. I did a lot of his meditations. But I didn't have the space to truly feel it when I was going through it. As an example, I read the Sedona method, and it is about saying, you know, really asking yourself, am I ready to let this go? And if not, why? Right? But it's not an intellectual problem. We're still going to react. You know, back after my divorce, when I was really trying to understand my patterns in myself and understand who that was, right? That went through that relationship and now the divorce and then moving forward in life as a mom, as all of these other things. And so I took to breathing, Wim Hof breathing, which I think is a wonderful, right? Like anytime that we can really bring up or bring in these practices, they just enhance us. But we cannot rely on them because breathing, the Wim Hof breathing 3 times or, whatever, let's say for 15 minutes a day, it will calm your nervous system in those moments, but it cannot help you when you are reacting, when your nervous system is triggered, unless you continue to breathe throughout every reaction. But you're still experiencing it. You're still experiencing it because until we've changed how we feel about it in the body, then we can alter it, or then it'll show up differently in our experiences. And so again, this is not intellectual. And I really, really, gently say, because this was for myself too, it becomes a matter of the ego when we suggest, no, I know this. False. I said the same thing. I know it. If you know it, right, it wouldn't happen. But here's what we do know. Here's what I know is that I will never fully know it, but I will continue to practice it. I will continue to catch these reactions, to move past these triggers and traumas and wounds that keep showing up in my life because it's a matter of the ego. The ego wants us to know that we know it, but the body keeps saying, are you sure? Right? Because until we see these as our teachers, these wounds, these traumas, these triggers, until we see them as our teacher, they will continue to create our life from reactivity. And I want to share something personal. I read The Untethered Soul. I don't know if you've read it, but I read The Untethered Soul, and I read it twice. In both times, I understood it intellectually. I could tell you what it was about. I did the workbook. I could explain the concepts. I recommended it to others. Now, I read that book about 5 years ago. 5 years ago. It was only 3 months ago. I was in the car. I was driving by the big Y. I know exactly the moment. And for the first time, I actually understood what it meant to witness a reaction. Not read about it, not think about it, but to feel it in real time in my body. And I did it because I had finally created enough space to do so. And that moment was like fireworks. I felt like I had been on this quest for 5+ years of figuring out what it meant to be aware of my thoughts, thinking that I had. It's not a thinking game, is it? And so, in all of this work, in doing it, in embodying all of this work that I'm teaching you now, I created the space in order to do so. And it was amazing. Because when we don't have space, we cannot access those parts of ourselves, no matter how much we know. Because knowing and living are two completely different things. And so that moment in the car, the thoughts were coming. They were just floating, and they were constantly happening. And in that moment, I understood that I have created from the thoughts I have attached to. If I don't attach to the thoughts, there's no life behind them. And so I just witnessed the thought as if it was a passing cloud without judgment, without shame or blame, with no story attached to it. I didn't engage with it. I simply witnessed it. Right now it's windy outside and there's leaves blowing. And so you can imagine it like this. Your thoughts are just a leaf blowing. You can watch that leaf without attachment, without emotion, without anything when you're in the present moment. When you are present, it can simply exist. That was that moment for me. And so today, try that on. Clear your mind right now. Just clear it, even for 2 seconds. That's the space. That's the work. Try that on. For the leaf that comes through next, that thought that comes through next, you don't need to attach to it. You don't need to fight it. You don't need to shame it. It just is. And if you did that just once today, oof, and tomorrow maybe you do it twice, it all becomes so clear. At least it was for me in that moment, that I have created everything in my life. And God, did I smile? Gosh, was I just lit up, because I now created choice for myself. That's what this is all about. Is for you too to have these aha moments. And so I really invite you to listen to some of these past teachings. I don't know which one will land. I trust I trust they will, though. Whatever you're meant to hear, you will hear. Whatever you're meant to receive, wherever you are on your journey, it will meet you. That's the way it works. And so, really recognizing that I don't have to attach to these thoughts. Now I have space. Now I know I don't have to react. Because reactions come from our belief system. And so, here's what is actually happening when you react. It's not a character flaw, it's not a weakness, it's not a lack of intelligence. You don't need to read a study. Your reaction is coming from a belief system that was built long before you had the awareness to question it. You have gone through your life unconscious of the fact that your belief system is based off of this. Your thoughts are based off of this, until you choose consciously to become aware. Because belief systems don't live in the mind, they live in the body, in the jaw that tightens, in that chest that just constricts, in the throat that feels like it can't even say a word, the breath that catches, the shoulders that rise, the fists that clench. Your body is reacting to a story that your nervous system has been telling you since you were a child. And you cannot think your way out of that story. You have to feel your way through it. You have to feel your way through it. You know, I spent a lot of time waiting for permission to be a speaker, until I recognized that that was a belief that I had within me, that I needed someone else to give me permission to speak. That was my belief. I don't know where it came from, but I held on to it. All these years, I've held on to it, until I decided to let it go and just speak. No one has given me permission to talk to you today. I don't have a lot of certifications. I don't have a degree. And none of that matters, because none of this is intellectual. It is all within the body. And I have learned that. And that's why I'm here talking to you now, because I let go of that belief. It doesn't matter how smart you are. And this is the part nobody wants to say out loud. It doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter how many degrees you have. It doesn't matter how many books you've read, how many people you help. Because knowing what safety looks like is not the same as knowing what safety feels like in your body. And that's why it's hard to actually help people, because you're teaching something you don't know inside. Because knowing what safety looks like and feeling it in your body, they're two different things. So until your body knows safety, until it actually has felt it, your ego is running the show, and the reactions will keep coming and the patterns keep repeating. Not because you aren't doing the work, because the work has never been in the mind. It has always lived in the body. You cannot talk your way out of this. And if you are rejecting this, it is your ego. It comes from your belief systems. We attach to again, science and degrees. There was this woman that I was in this course with, and very successful woman. And she shared something where she became completely dysregulated. Completely dysregulated. And the reality is that it doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter how many degrees or courses you've accomplished. Your intelligence doesn't protect you from reacting. And when we react, we say things we don't mean. We punish ourselves. We punish the other person. It has created so much strife and discord because we've offset it to our mind instead of feeling it in our body. Just the other day, in real time, my partner, my wife, said something to me, and I felt it rise. Oh, did I feel it rise? The hurt, the wounding. And I just sat with it, and I sent it love, because it was a mirror. She wasn't doing anything to hurt me. And I had a choice. I could react and it would inevitably cause chaos and strife between us. Or I could see it as a teacher of something within me that needs to heal. And so I did. And I moved through it with such love and such ease. And it was so beautiful because it allowed me to continue to have a peaceful experience in her too. The work is not more information. Your ego is telling you you need more information, you need more science. That is your ego. None of this exists in the ego. The work is learning to feel what is happening in your body before that reaction takes over. It's learning to notice the jaw tightening, the breath getting shallow, the shoulders rising, the tightness in the throat, in the chest, the clenched fists, the thoughts really speeding up and ramping up. And in that noticing and creating space, because that space is where everything changes. It's not the information, it's the space. And so if this is landing, this is exactly what from reaction to response the reset was built for. It's not for more information. We're past that. It's a real body-based experience of what regulation actually feels like. It's a 60-minute workshop with a 528 hertz guided meditation and a 432 frequency track. So your body can really feel what your mind has been trying to understand. It's $47. The link is in the bio. This is everything. This work is everything. When your nervous system is dysregulated, when there is no space, you cannot access that intuition. You cannot access your real knowing. You cannot access the versions of you that responds instead of reacts, because that version is gone. Well, it's not gone. The version is not gone, but it is just buried beneath that noise, beneath the beliefs, beneath the reactions, beneath the story your nervous system has been telling you for decades. Space is how you get back to yourself. One breath, one pause, one moment of regulation at a time. That is the doorway. That is the doorway. And so try that on. It hasn't been working for you yet. And I want to say this clearly. When you collapse, when you react despite everything you know, it's not a failure. It is information. It is your body saying, I don't feel safe here yet. And that is not a reason for shame. That is a reason for compassion. And then one breath, one pause, back to yourself. That is the practice. It's not getting it right every time. It's returning over and over and over again. That is the work. And so try this on. Think of something that triggered you recently. Don't analyze it. Don't explain it. Just feel where it lives in your body. Your chest, your jaw, your legs, your shoulders. And place one hand there. And breathe in slowly through your nose. And exhale longer than the inhale. All the way out. And just notice. Is this a thought or a feeling? Where does it live in my body? Can I give it a little space? Just that. How does nervous system work? That is not intellectual, that is real. And you are here in this moment. Try it on. Try it on. This all lives in the body for you. You are one decision away from changing your entire life. You don't need another course. You don't need another book. It does not exist in the mind. And I say that with so much love, as I too tried to think my way out of it. Lives in the body. All of this is in your body. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not failing because you still react sometimes. You are human with a nervous system that has been protecting you your whole life. And now you're learning to work with it instead of against it. And that is not something you can read your way into. It is something you practice in your body in real time. One breath at a time. This is the work we do here. If this resonated, share it with someone who needs it. Follow along. And if you're ready to feel what regulation actually feels like, from reaction to response to reset, it's live. It's $47. Link is in the bio. Don't believe me? Try it on. This is Try It On, where awareness meets the nervous system and real change begins from within. Take this into your life, not as something to believe, as something to try. Until next time.